What's going on, Masterminds and Dragon Ball family? So we have some news that may turn into a new Dragon Ball Super movie coming out in 2018. Now, this is not confirmed. Let me say that straight off the bat, but there is some really good evidence that says that this might actually be a new Dragon Ball Super movie. Welcome. Today is Unreal and Gaming, another Dragon Ball Super channel, a very big channel, and a friend of mine. Welcome, Unreal and Gaming.
Thank you for having me, man. It's a real pleasure.
So he doesn't even know what this evidence is, and let me explain it. Basically, the URL DragonBall2018.com has just been reserved by a Japanese company, and the reason why this is interesting is because the Battle of Gods movie, a year before it came out, Dragon Ball 2013, was taken in 2012. And that's when they put the movie webpage on for Battle of the Gods on Dragon Ball 2013. The Resurrection of F website was called Dragon Ball 2015, and that was the Resurrection of F movie website. Now, Dragon Ball 2018 has just been reserved by a Japanese company. Now, the other two were Toei, which leads me to believe a little bit that this is a possibility that it could just be someone taking the site, but I don't think so. I think Dragon Ball Super has gotten so much hype and speed that I have been wondering when the next movie is going to come out, and I think this is our first clue that there is a slight possibility. Before I go any further, I just want to give a shout out to AnimeAjay for actually breaking this news. And I wanted to talk about this with Unreal and Gaming because he's another very big YouTube channel that talks about Dragon Ball all the time. His link is in the description. Go check him out if you haven't seen him already. And I want to bounce some ideas because even if it doesn't come out yet, I do believe that a Dragon Ball movie will come out soon in the future. Right. And what could it be about? Like a Golden Cell? I mean, wishful thinking, maybe, but
right.
I mean, do you think that Dragon Ball Super has gained a lot of hype and a lot of headway with Goku's new form? I mean, I know the ratings were low, but there were some reasonings for that with the special. But I do believe that like the amount of hype for Dragon Ball Super, I mean, considering the fact that it could have really ended at any time, it could have been like a GT, it could have just not gotten the ratings, you know, and just kind of fallen through the cracks and just been another GT. But considering that they're at episode 112 coming up, I feel like they're doing really good over at Toei. What are your thoughts on this?
I think, well, first of all, thank you for having me, and it's a real pleasure to talk to you about this. Now, I think that looking into this, I think a lot of us do want to see another film. I mean, just because, like, going back to Dragon Ball Z when we had the main continuity based off the manga with Frieza, Cell, Majin Buu, during the course of those stories, we had the Broly film, we had Bojack, Janemba, we had some really interesting stuff that, again, would be considered non-canon because it had nothing to do with the main continuity of what followed the manga. So you have to ask yourself here, it's like, with Dragon Ball Super being so successful, where would this movie fall in terms of placement? Would it be a non-canon film? Would it be like some sort of a side story? And if so, would this take place during the course of the Tournament of Power, or after, or maybe before, maybe after the events of the Goku Black story? So I think that if there is a high chance or a possibility for there to be another film, you have to also beg the question as to if they're going to include that story within the main continuity of Super, because thus far in Super, they took the movies of Battle of Gods and Resurrection F, and they incorporated that within the main continuity of the series by simply retelling them. So with this, it's like, you know, would they be able to do the same thing in creating some sort of a movie and then incorporating that in the show, or would this be something completely different? Now, you mentioned Golden Cell, and I would have to say at this point in Super, it's like really anything is possible. I mean, for a lot of people, like, Super has become so unpredictable because many years ago, how many people thought that we would see a quote-unquote evil Goku, and they gave us Goku Black with a deity's essence in his body, and you know, so a lot of things happen. How many people thought we'd see Frieza come back twice? I mean, nobody thought we would ever see him after Resurrection of F. So I think anything is possible. I just feel like as of right now, there shouldn't be any reason to have a movie that ties in with the main continuity unless you want to do a side story, because after the Tournament of Power, I'm pretty sure they're going to continue with some filler before going into the next arc. So it's more or less just, it begs the question as to where a movie would fall at this point, because if they do decide to go through with the film, would they ultimately retell that film in the in the main series, or would they just keep it as a side story? That's just my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, none of Dragon Ball Z movies fell within the continuity, right? It was just only until we got to Dragon Ball Super that they're like, okay, we're going to do the movies to build the hype, and then we're going to retell them in the anime, because for whatever reason in Japan, you know, they don't, if the movie is done, I don't know, it probably has something to do with the production companies and everything like that, but if the movie is done in Japan, they never use that as essentially canon. I mean, the only way they'll use it is if they redo it in the anime.
Right.
So, but my theory is that because this is going to be in 2018, and because they want to lead up to the end of Dragon Ball Z, the movie could be like some Oob Saga movie. That's what I think. I think after the Tournament of Power, there's a couple different directions that they could go in. One of them being leading up to the end of Dragon Ball Z, which Toyotaro has stated that that's what they're aiming for. And it could be like after Goku flies off to train Oob, and it could be all about Goku training Oob, and then maybe, you know, Oob fighting some strong enemies of his own or something like that. If they wanted it to fall in the continuity of the story, then they could totally do Oob in that sense.
Right.
Otherwise, I don't think that they have to. I think... you know, obviously, like the Dragon Ball movies, it's like you can't say the Broly movie was during the Cell Saga. Like, things don't match up. Like, there was no time for them to go to a different planet and fight Broly and then like come back.
Right. Well, I mean, the first Broly movie actually took place during the 10-day span of Cell waiting for them during the Cell games, before the Cell games actually started. But the thing about those kind of stories are, they're kind of told like in an alternative reality, but based on what you said about Oob, it's like so far in the main series they've mentioned him several times. To give you some examples, during the Champa arc when they were recruiting people on the team, Goku and Vegeta briefly spoke about this young kid who had tremendous power, but he was too young. And then, you know, at the beginning of the Tournament of Power story, we saw when Dende spoke to Goku about how this kid, you know, is alive and he's supposed to be the reincarnation of the evil Buu, and he's on Earth as a kid. So I can definitely see Oob being placed within the main series instead, because, well, as you said, they're trying to go into the ending. They're not trying to end it, but they're going into the ending of, you know, what Z was, and possibly retelling that and just doing an entire, you know, retcon of like what happened during that time. But if they're gonna do a new film, honestly speaking, they're either gonna have to base it before or after the Tournament of Power, in terms of there being some sort of an enemy that comes about that approaches and challenges the powers of Goku, Vegeta, etc. I don't see why Oob would be involved, but I could definitely see our current heroes being involved in some way, shape, or form. But the thing is, it's like, where would you place that in terms of like, you know, the time setting, in terms of like you know, the story happening before the tournament, after the tournament?
After the tournament, dude, because if it's coming out in 2018, I mean, they probably have the entire Tournament of Power written already.
Yeah, for sure.
There's no doubt in my mind, like, they know how this thing's going to end.
Yeah.
And they're working 6 episodes in advance, like, constantly. And, it's just going to be after the Tournament of Power. I mean, it's pretty obvious, you know, with the end of Dragon Ball Z, Universe 7 has won. They're alive, you know. We don't know if the other universes are alive, but it's pretty clear that they're going to come out of the Tournament of Power unscathed, Universe 7 at least. And so I think the new story will technically take place as soon as the Tournament of Power is over. And I think it would be cool if they kind of just introduce some super powerful enemy or something like that. I mean, that's how all the movies are. There's some super powerful guy that comes out of nowhere, and it's just like a really epic, you know, really high action movie,
right,
that's enjoyable to watch, you know.
I personally feel that what they need to do is introduce an enemy that actually has a credible chance, or at least, you know, giving the audience some sort of like belief factor that he will do significant damage. Because the only, I would say, credible villains that we had so far in the show were Golden Frieza and Zamasu alongside Goku Black. But even then, it's like we already knew the end result. During the Tournament of Power story, we don't really have any credible villains aside from Frieza. And based on, you know, during the, you know, time of this recording, he hasn't really made any of his plans or any of his motives clear to anyone yet. So I think that if there were to be a new film, they definitely ought to introduce an enemy that pushes Goku, Vegeta, and company, you know, to their breaking point, to where, similar to Android 13 and Broly and Janemba and Bojack and Turles and Slug, how they had our guys up against the ropes and they had them on the run. But I also feel, in my opinion, if they were to do movies, just to me, I think that they ought to be non-canon, something separate, to where we still get some enjoyment and some sort of like homage, like going back to like Dragon Ball Z, how they used to do movies and stuff. To me, I think that it should be non-canon, because a lot of us want to see like a massive what if factors occurring. For example, the fandom has been begging ever since Vegeto's introduction. The fandom has been begging, what if Gogeta this? What if Gogeta that? They can always do that if they wanted to. If they wanted to
Ultra Instinct Gogeta.
That would be terrifyingly scary, bro. Especially whoever he fights. But like the concept of that, because from a marketing standpoint, I get it. As a company, you want to make money off of toys, off of products, DLC, whatever. And as fans, we win as well. We get content, and we get content for games in the future. So I think, in my opinion, if they were to do a film next year, it ought to be something different, something non-canon that's non-relatable to the story now. Because if it is relatable to the story now, how the hell are they going to incorporate the movie into the series after, if that's the direction, you know?
Dude, Ultra Instinct Gogeta would make like the best movie.
Ultra Instinct anybody would be a formidable threat.
There would not be like one Dragon Ball fan that would skip out of watching a Ultra Instinct Gogeta movie.
That'd be really nice, honestly.
But like, what enemy? Like, Ultra Instinct Gogeta could probably beat the Omni King. I mean, maybe not, but like,
nah, probably not. I really doubt that.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, what enemy could they bring that could stand a chance against him?
Right.
But how freaking amazing would that be? I mean, there's so many possibilities. I mean, I love the fact that it's non-canon. Primarily, like this whole element of we make the movies in a way canon, or at least they fall in with the continuity of the storyline, kind of sucks, because once we watch the movie in like 1 or 2 hours, then we have to wait for like 14 weeks to get past like the whole arc,
exactly.
Of that movie.
And even with the movies, they retcon.
You know?
They retcon certain information about the films as well, like Battle of Gods. The whole percentage factor of Beerus using 70% has been changed. When Toriyama first created Battle of Gods, he placed, I think it was God Goku at 7, Beerus at 10, and Whis at 15. That's been changed. So, they obviously have changed certain things when they put the movies within the show. So for me, it's like, if they were to do that, it's like, are you really going to tell us that we're going to have to wait like 14 weeks or whatnot for them to convert the movie into an actual episodic series?
Nobody
with
wants
the show?
that. Nobody wants that.
But so that's why I think that, in my opinion, it ought to be non-canon. But like what do you think? Like, if a movie were to come about, do you think it should be following the main series, or do you think it should be its own entity?
No, man, I just told you. Like, I don't want them to waste all that time. Like, we want fresh content, but we like the fact in Dragon Ball Z that the movies kind of fell out of the content. I mean, it was kind of fun to speculate, like, where could this fall, in the Dragon Ball timeline? And majority of the time, it's like impossible. But yeah, I mean, I think they should just come up with some really cool story. I mean, ideas that I can think of that would be like instant, like mega hits are, like something to do with like Bardock. Obviously, the Ultra Instinct Gogeta. I mean, it's hard for them. Like, the Goku's power is getting so high now. Like, if he's able to maintain Ultra Instinct, arguably he's stronger than Beerus in the Gods of Destruction, and he's encroaching, closer to like the Angel's power level. And it's like, how much stronger can he get? How much stronger can the villains get? You know what I mean? And Dragon Ball Super, like, the power cap has become so high that it's like, what, are you gonna make Goku stronger than the Omni King one day? It's like, how strong can the villains be? But they could always just create some story out of nowhere and create this super
they could always they could always introduce a Jiren-esque character, except instead of it being a pride troop, it can be an enemy, to where they possess similar qualities to Jiren. Because look at Jiren, no matter how you want to look at it, he's considered to be a good guy because he's a part of the pride troopers who represent justice and truth. So he's not considered to be a villain. But imagine we took the formula for Jiren and we created a villain from that. Like, that would be kind of interesting, in my opinion, to do a movie off of course.
Or just give any villain like Ultra Instinct, and that would also make a great fight.
Dude, I mean, listen, it sells products. I mean, toys, DLC for games, all sorts of stuff, if that's the direction they want to go in. And I mean, let's face facts. Dragon Ball Super as a whole is making a lot of money. They're making tons of, profit from this. I mean, they're not going to stop anytime soon. So for them, if they want to make more, why not, stray away a little bit and create like a side story? But even with that being said, it's like, the question lingers as to how much more content we have left for Super, as to, like, as you said before, where are they going to go after the Tournament of Power? Like, what's the overall direction and what's the narrative going to be? I think it's going to be with Oob. That's why I feel like a movie ought to be its entirely own separate entity, and including something either before the tournament, after the tournament, but regardless, something that where it encompasses what the movies were, but in the past, involving Broly and stuff. Because when we first saw Broly, Super Android 13, Janemba, these villains were presented And they pushed our characters literally to their breaking point. For example, with Android 13, Goku absorbed the Genki Dama. With Broly, I mean, Goku literally needed the energy of everyone to defeat him, not just during the first movie, but also during the second film with the you know, father-son Kamehameha, all that kind of stuff. Janemba as well. Janemba was a formidable opponent to where they needed fusion. Haruta God as well. So I think that, you know, if they were to do that, it ought to be someone that, as you said, kind of possesses qualities that really push our characters to the breaking point, and thus ultimately coming up with a conclusion. And then we have our substance, we have our content.
I think the fact of the matter remains, and beyond the evidence of the website being taken, and I know it could have just been some random other Japanese company maybe trying to hold on to it and sell it to Toei or something like that, but I don't think so. I think the fact of the matter is, like you said, Dragon Ball is making really good money. And there is a future for Dragon Ball now. There is like no end in sight, essentially. And the first two movies made buku bucks, dude. They made ridiculous money. And I'm confused why they haven't made more yet. And that leaves me to believe that, you know, a 2018 movie for Dragon Ball Super is totally plausible. Now, AnimeAjay was the guy who broke the news, and I watched his video, and he said that he thinks it would put too much stress on the animation, on the company to actually produce the show and the movie at the same time, and I think that's possible, but I think they would get such a huge influx of cash to create a movie that they could definitely, you know, outsource episodes and hire new animators and outside outsource animators and things like that to be able to do both. I mean, it would be stressful on the company, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's about the money. It's
like you just said, man. They would make buku money, especially if they put it out in theaters, similar to how they did on the West. I mean, that would make a lot of money. I mean, Super right now is a big thing. Imagine if they actually came up with a film. But if this ends up in some way, shape, or form being true, I think that not a single person can be upset about this because, hey, it's another movie that's possibly going to be its own entity, and it's more content for us to watch and enjoy, especially if you're a Dragon Ball fan. So if this ends up being true, and 2018 is going to be the goal for possibly targeting another film, I'm cool with that. So as long as I think that it ought to be its own entity rather than being canon, because that's gonna be like that's gonna be a wacky, you know, thing.
I totally agree with that. No more canon movies, please. Like no more of that stuff. The other thing is that Crunchyroll and Daisuke and like Funimation, all these other companies that license Dragon Ball Super have gotten crazy popular now, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know what happens behind closed door with the business people, and this is all speculation on my part, but I'm a business guy, and I'm figuring that because Crunchyroll and all these other streaming sites have possibly gotten so much business and so many added subscribers solely from Dragon Ball itself, it's very possible that Toei is like, okay, we're increasing the licensing fee, and they may be making a lot more money, and they may have like a year contract or something like that, and then every year they're able to renew the contract and make changes and stuff like that. I mean, I'm pretty damn sure, long story short, that Toei is making out very, very well, and that a movie is like pretty much common sense for them. I mean, it really just comes down to, is it feasible with their team and everything? Because what was Resurrection F did it happen before Super started?
Yeah, it happened before Super started. Actually, it happened 2015. No, it's 2015. Yeah, and then that's when Super debuted in July of 2015. So Battle of Gods and Resurrection have happened before Super's inception, and then after that, as we already know, they retold the films in the form of episodes, and here we are. I mean, so I guess thus far we can only consider the Champa arc, the Goku Black story, and the Tournament of Power the only legitimate 3 arcs that are clean, that never had like their own film. So
yeah, that would kind of make sense though, that they don't want to do movies because they're doing the show. But dude, early 1990s Toei was so strong, man. Like, they're doing movies, they're doing their episodes, like every character movement has 3 gradients of shading. Like, you know, they rarely even use 3 gradients
we
of
had
shading
different
anymore.
dubs too, bro. The Ocean dub, the Golden Harmony dub, the English dub. I mean, we had the subs and stuff, man. Listen, and how many of us really thought that this year we were going to see God Broly in the form of a 4D film in Japan? You get what I'm saying? It's like, when I first heard about that, I was like, no way. And then when I saw, you know, that they're doing this, you know, 4D, you know, concept in Japan, similar to how they did with Frieza a few years prior. I'm like, wow, so they're going to continuously keep pushing out whatever they can, because at the end of the day, we care as fans because it's product, but they care because it's money. So if they see dollar signs in another film, they could always do something to where they can include someone or something that could market the film that much more. Like, for example, with the whole Resurrection F thing, it was the return of Frieza. He had a new form. He's going to fight this newer form of Goku, and it sold itself. So for this, I think that they really ought to push the envelope. And as I said, like in the beginning of this video, man, anything is possible now, because at the end of the day, it's like Dragon Ball has become so unpredictable. Just when you say or you think, oh, it's not going to happen, in some way, shape, or form, they actually prove you wrong. And you know, even going back to the filler stuff before the tournament started, everyone kept saying, we want Cell, we want Majin Buu. They gave us Cell and Super Buu in the form of like a filler episode with Krillin and Goku when they you know, fought in that forest and stuff. So like in some ways, they give it to you. So if it were to be another film, I really wouldn't mind it. I would love it, actually. But like I said, it all depends on, you know, the story direction, if it's going to make sense. Because if it doesn't make sense, then people are going to complain. But if it's its own entity, then I'm pretty sure everyone's going to like it.
You brought up a really good point, though, and I'm going to end the video after this, is that in the first movie, Goku got a new form. In the second movie, Goku got a new form. And guess what? Goku just got her new form. It's a perfect opportunity to make a third movie.
Oh, yeah, they can always execute that. Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, every movie he gets a new damn form. and people maybe
this could be asked for someone else.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, people, for example, people always said, well, what about Vegeta? Is he not going to get something? I mean, they could always make a film dedicating something to him. You never know, man. The possibilities are endless, literally.
Yeah. So again, guys, this video is all speculation, right? There's no confirmed evidence that a new movie's coming out, but as we discussed with Unreal and Gaming here, you know, it's totally possible. I'd say there's a very decent chance that we are going to get a movie next year of a Dragon Ball Super movie. So that's the evidence that we got. I will leave links in the description for Unreal and Gaming and AnimeAjay. Thanks you guys so much for watching. Unreal, thanks for joining.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much, guys, for watching.
Of course, guys, and we'll talk to you soon with another Dragon Ball video. Have a good one, guys. Peace.
Later.